Hey everyone, hope you had a wonderful holiday season and are still having a wonderful holiday season. The purpose of this video note, very briefly and to the point, is that one of your wonderful classmates, Leslie, thank you Leslie, sent in an excellent question about the topics of your persuasive speeches, so I figured it would be easier to blab by voice than blab by email, because no one's probably going to read the email, not that I would either, so don't feel bad. Anyway, first of all, for the persuasive speech, you want to choose something that you can be biased about, not that you are. I mean, you can be biased about it, but you don't have to be. But it needs to be something that you can have a bias about. In other words, if you were to say, why Las Vegas is the best place to visit for your honeymoon or something like that, that you can have a bias about. You can say why it is, why it isn't, all that stuff, but that's not the only criteria though. You need to have, like, okay, red jello versus green jello. That's not a topic that would be appropriate because of the second thing, which I'm about to say, and the first thing, which is, can you be biased? Pretend they didn't have any flavor. You could just say, oh, it's more attractive. I mean, that's kind of a silly argument to, I mean, I don't mean silly, but you know what I mean. The second thing that I just alluded to is the notion of, is it an appropriate topic? Now, in the past, when I'm teaching traditional classes where you come in and deliver the speech, sometimes people could say some very offensive things or very controversial things, and even if it's something that's somewhat low-key, like let's say prayer in schools, which is not half as upsetting as, let's say, the death penalty, or let's say abortion, or, you know, something that really gets people kind of upset. Even something like, should we allow prayer in school? Should we allow uniforms? Or should we make schools not have uniforms? Or, you know, those things that are social issues. FCATs. I don't know if you have FCATs in Georgia. Well, not FCATs, but it's like the SAT that every grade in Florida has to take in order to pass. And if they don't pass it, then they will fail. So this is a very hot button issue here in Florida. I don't know if you have an equivalent, but if you did, that would be a good topic, for example. Which my point was, you can choose a more controversial and or upsetting topic as long as you don't get too fiery and have, you know, chest pains and stuff like that, because obviously I do care about your health. In a setting like a class, it's really not the best to choose something that's that controversial. I mean, we've all heard the stories about someone bringing in a prop or a visual aid that was offensive or scary or alive. And yes, one time I had a student do a speech and he brought a ferret in, and this girl started screaming, and it was just kind of beastly. Oh, it's kind of cute, really. The ferret, not the student. Anyway, so the point is that the first main thing is that it needs to be an issue that you can choose a side. Again, you don't have to be choosing that side. You could even play the devil's advocate and choose this thing that's like the opposite. Maybe you think that schools should have prayer, but you say this is why schools shouldn't have prayer, or whatever. And then the second one, is it like an important topic? Again, no green jello versus red jello, or why is Las Vegas the best? You want something, it doesn't have to be a social issue. You can certainly bring your intercultural outrage speech. If you'd like to sort of do a little bit more work on that, you can. If you'd like to choose something like something that affects your life, if you have, let's say, a vision problem or ADD or, you know, something like that, and it's something that really has, like, you have all sorts of, you live a life that someone else maybe who doesn't have it would not live. You could be an advocate if you'd like. You could say, okay, this is why people who don't have ADD, and I think we all know why I'm using ADD as an example, but this is why people who don't have ADD should have ADD training so they can be sensitive to people like my children, or whatever it is, and that would be fine. There was another thing I wanted to say, and I've forgotten. Anyway, the point is that a significant topic, and oh, another thing is, your book does stress, I mean, basically you need to choose an outline format that really does make sense for your topic. In other words, if you were doing a speech on how to bake the perfect cake, it would have to go into a 1, 2, 3 order, wouldn't it? You'd have to say, okay, this is the flour, and then this is the sugar, or however you make a cake. I don't eat carbs, as you know. Well, as some of you know, because I'm always whining about it, but like if you, some things there's an order to it and you have to go in that order. Other things you have to go, let me just give you a good example. There's something called problem, cause, solution. Your book may call it problem, solution, and they're a little bit different, but they're sort of the same. There's a spatial thing, like, okay, first we're going to talk about the 3 countries Miss Sally has visited in her life. Let's start with the furthest away, Egypt. Then let's start with, then we'll go to the next one, which is Holland. These are fake, by the way, except they happen to Egypt. And the 3rd country is Florida, Canada. So you're going from far to near, or near to far. So there's an order, but you don't have to go in one particular order. It's not like the order that makes or breaks the speech. There are other types that your book mentions. Monroe's motivated sequence, I kind of don't really endorse because it doesn't really fit all the situations. And not only that, but it's just kind of, I don't know, I think it's kind of pretentious, quite honestly, but you didn't hear that from me. Another thing that you would like to use in your speech, remember Plato or Aristotle, ethos, pathos, logos. You don't want to go by save the baby sea lions, seals, save them because it's sad. They're so cute. It's so sad that we have to save them and blah blah. I mean, this is you're trying to get someone's emotions, and not only is it a manipulative tactic to just play on only the emotions. You can always bring emotions into it, but just don't make it the center of your argument. Also, you don't want to bring standards into it. If I said it is morally wrong to do the death penalty or whatever, okay, well maybe in my religion it is, but maybe it's not in your religion, and maybe he doesn't have a religion. So again, you can appeal to the notion of ethos or standards, but don't focus your whole argument on that. Which brings us to logos, the logic. You want to set your argument, you want to organize it properly. That's what you're going to be graded on, really, is how efficiently have you organized it, how well have you organized it. Are your main points, should they be like the smaller point, the baby main point, or the subpoint or whatever, or is it something that you really, it deserves its own main point? And of course your book talks about that. If you have any questions, do email me, and maybe I can do another 10-minute rant about it. Hopefully not. The final thing that you would like to, or that you should look into when you're doing a speech of the persuasive type is the, and yes, the thought has gone from my brain yet again. And no, I'm not the scatterbrained in class most of the time, but not having my book with me, yeah. Another thing that you'd like to do in your persuasive speech is you want to end with a call to action. You don't want to forget your intro or your conclusion. In your intro, treat it like a baby speech of introduction, informative speech, because remember, not everyone who's going to listen to you knows these things. So you always want to have just a little bit like, okay, I'm going to talk to you about X, Y, and Z. For those of you who don't know, X is blah blah and Y is blah blah, and they coalesce to form the wonderful band Z. Or, you know, you give us sort of like a baseline, or like a, I forgot the word in English. Okay, so there's that. And finally, when you give your speech, make sure that you, what's the word? Make sure that you, yes, I really have forgotten how to say it now in English. Maybe I could say it in Arabic, that would be good. The point is that your speech is not a place to rant and rave and say, the people on the other side are wrong, they're evil, and blah blah. You're logically telling us, you're just laying out the argument 1, 2, 3, and that's it. Remember, some of your previous speeches, there was an issue with the sound quality, the lighting quality, etc. There is a chance that next week, God willing, maybe Thursday or Friday, which would be what date? I don't know now. It's not the 4th. It's the week after the 4th. I might be coming to campus. If you'd like to work on your speech, if you want any help with it, if you'd like to deliver your speech in person, this may or may not happen. However, I have to hear from at least 2 or 3 of you that say, yes, we'd be interested in this option. Also, if you have any makeup baby speeches you want to do, if you've been having camera issues or whatever, then that is perfectly fine. We can go over that on those days if I'm over there. But again, I am limited by what I'm doing at FSU and being able to get to Bainbridge on time while the library is open. Anyway, my 10 minutes are up right now, so I'm going to stop this recording and start another in like 2 seconds. Anyway.